Hello and welcome to this KT Special One-on-One. Our guest today is former Israel coach and Chelsea manager Avram Grant. Avram, it's great to see you here in Dubai.
Great to see you. I was in a little bit more clubs than you said, but it's okay.
So Avram, you recently kicked off the Dubai Sports Council's program for professional players. You've given several lectures here, including here at Al Nasser Club. What's it been like so far in the UAE?
It was very, very interesting and very, for me, it was, even if I may say, it's a great feeling because I was in many places in the world, and in this place particularly, when they asked to share my experience with them, it was fantastic because I was here since 2015 and the welcome for me was fantastic. But here to come after the peace process, represent the football, which is a football united people together in a place like this, the feeling is great.
Let's talk about your impressive career spanning more than 5 decades. You started as a very young coach. I think 18. I read at the age of 18, which means for Israelis, as you start the army or even before the army for you. You also coached Israel's national team, but it seems, and tell me if I'm wrong, that people will remember you most from your time as the manager of Chelsea.
Yeah, I started in Israel. I was 13 years in the academy. We created a very good academy in a very small town, not in a big club. And then I became the coach of this club, and then Maccabi Tel Aviv, Maccabi Haifa, top clubs in Israel national team. And then I came to England, and of course everybody will remember my time in Chelsea because I received the team in a very bad situation. And I remember the messages that everybody said to me, why you do it, why you take the team up from Mourinho. And one good friend of mine said to me, you can be the clown of the world because there is no chance to do well in this team. And we did very well. We almost took the champions after we came from behind, and of course Champions League final when we lost the final and one penalty when we was the better team. So people like to remember success, and I'm lucky or not lucky that I was there.
How do you look at your own career if you have to choose a career highlight?
Oh, there is a lot of highlights. I remember when I started, after I was 18, I started by coincidence because they delayed my army, and by coincidence I started to coach. And I remember that after 2 years, we took the cup of under 14 or something. Wow, I thought that is the highlight of my life. First time in a small club and something like this. And then came more highlights. I cannot remember, I cannot put the finger and say this is the highlight, this is the highlights, but I think if I can choose a moment that combine everything, my childhood, the influence of my childhood, my parents, and everything through the main job that I was facing, I think it was the semi-final of Chelsea against Liverpool, because 3 reasons. The football reason that Chelsea lost at the same stage, which was very, very unique to play 3 times against the same team, 2 teams from the same country, and became first time in the history for Champions League final. And second, it was the Holocaust Day that have a lot of meaning for me because, as you know, my situation in Israel is not so usual because my father came from Poland. He survived the Holocaust, was the most optimistic guy that I met in my life, and my mother came from Iraq. Not far from here, by the way, 1 hour, 2 hours flight. She came when she was 20 to Israel, so they got married together, and I was the first son and the first child. And my father was survivor of Holocaust. He buried his father, his mother, his 2 sisters with his own hands, 13 years old. Imagine they died from cold and hunger. And even though he was the most optimistic guy you ever met, he was always positive, always happy. And even he said, I was trying to find everything about his past just to learn. Yeah? And then the Holocaust Day, which is a very, very important day for me, and that's it, was the game. So it was together. And that was the reason that I put the black band on my arm with the yellow dot. And I say, if we win, I want that everybody know that how this day is very important to me. And we did a big achievement in a sport that united people together. And maybe this is the highlight, because it was not just football for me. People say to me, it's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of pressure. With all the respect, I prefer this pressure of game than to be in a game where we gain against a Wicom, which not inside everybody, because we always want to achieve something. With the achievement comes the pressure.
Do you miss the pressure?
Yes, a lot. I miss two things in football, because football gave me a lot, and one of the things that I can share my experience in different countries. Now I'm here, and I enjoy it very much. But the one thing that I grew up with this is the pressure in Saturday. It's not even the pressure. It's not pressure, it's part of my life. It's the competition, because when you come to the game, your enemy, it's not your enemy, it's your rival. In the same pitch, you see the pitch here. Because in business, you don't see others. In politician, even, you don't see others, etc. And here in the same pitch, and you need to show who is more strong physically, who is more clever, who is more strong mentally, in a different situation. I missed it a lot. And then you need to maintain if you are winning, you need to recover when you are losing. And everything is coming to Saturday, so I miss it, and I miss the creativity during the week, because during the week, you prepare everything, and you are dealing with the big egos. This is two things that I miss, but on the other hand, I enjoy my life also here.
Yeah, a lot of psychology behind the game and managing.
A lot of psychology behind life today.
Behind life. And well, you've managed some really big names throughout your career. I'm curious to know any favorites.
I tell you, when they ask me what is your approach as a coach, I feel when I started, I said it, everybody was against me, because in those times you need to be dictator. I say I'm like a father of 20 players. I treat them like I treat my son. My son, if he's doing something wrong, I also sometimes angry about him, even I was never angry about my son. But I do this, but also when he's not doing well, you know that even I have, let's say, criticism, is because I love him. And that is my approach with the players. There's one thing that I'm very, very happy. I can show you players that I coached them 40 years ago, 30 years ago, and they speak about this. So I was a father. Sometimes I was tough a little bit, but most of the time they know that even if I'm tough, I want the best from them. So
if I ask the players, they say they felt loved?
I think most of them, yes. Because it was most of them, I'm still in contact with them.
Finally, do you have any plans to coach in the UAE in the future?
I can tell you, most of my answers to questions change with the years, because football changed, life changed, life is not...
You change?
I change, yes, of course. There is a quote that says only donkey cannot change, don't change. So we are trying to change, we're trying to adapt with not losing our personality. I always tell my children two things, that everything you can happen, you can adapt, you can compromise. Never lose your personality and your happiness, self-happiness. And I'm trying to do it. But there is one answer that I didn't change, I don't know why. When they ask me a question like you said, like you asked, I said like this: in my professional life, when I come, even to my lectures here, I can tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I can tell you what I can do in 1 hour, and when I come to a team, I can change it, but I have a program for one day, 1 week, 1 year. I like to work for the present and the future. I think the past belongs to the historians. Past for me is only for nostalgic stories, which I like, and to learn from this. But we are busy in the present and the future.
I believe that. So I'll ask it differently. Do you feel at home here in the UAE, and would you consider making this another home?
First, I feel home. I feel home from the first moment that I came here, by the way. Maybe not from the first. I remember I was 2015, but people, maybe because of the football also. But to be honest with you, when I came to places, every place that I go, I feel good. And if I don't feel good, I don't stay there. If I wouldn't feel good here, there is other places in the world.
And here you've been for a while, so I believe you feel good.
And I come again and again and again, you know. Now we are speaking free after the peace process. For me, it was a dream because I grew up differently. And I feel good. And I really want to take the leaders here that took this step. And I think it will be also direction for others. They was very brave and they was clever to do that. Because I think for me, leadership is to think about the people. The former Prime Minister of Israel said a very nice thing. They asked him, why do you do this? It's not what the people want. He said, I don't know what the people want. I know what people need. And the leaders here took two decisions. First, to develop this place. I saw a picture 20 years ago and I compare it to now. So they had a vision. And I say even in my lecture, vision is not enough, but everything starts from vision. Then they did it. And secondly, the peace process, which I think, you know, always there will be difficulties, but it will lead only to good things. And to tell you one more thing, as a guy that faced everything, and we are from the same country, I don't know if it will lead or not lead. I'm sure it will lead, but it's better than the other choice.
Avram Grant, former Israel coach and Chelsea manager, thanks so much for speaking with us today.
Thank you, my pleasure.